Cringey dialogue. You've got 2 editors and 5 minutes. I'm Karen Beery with Right Now Editing.
I'm Peg Thomas at pegthomas.com, Peg with 2 G's.
And we're going to talk to you about some of the cringiest things that we see in dialogue, usually with new authors, but sometimes experienced authors as well.
Yes.
We each have a particular pet peeve that we see, but we've also talked with other industry professionals, and we know that these are things that are often cut and can make you stand out maybe as a newbie or a less experienced writer.
And can irritate the heck out of your readers.
Yes. For me, Peg.
Yes, Karen.
It's the overuse of proper names in dialogue, Peg.
But Karen, so many people do that. It must be right. I read it before, over and over and over again.
Overusing names in dialogue can really slow down the story.
Yes, it can, Karen.
Especially if you ever want to turn your book into an audiobook, because your narrator is going to read whatever's on the page, Peg.
Yes, that's true, Karen.
So, Peg, if
Yes.
you use a name every other line, the narrator is going to read that, Peg.
Yes, they are, Karen, and it's going to annoy the heck out of your readers.
So go ahead, take a peek through your manuscript and search for those proper names.
Because if there are only 2 people in a conversation, there is no need to use all these names. I know who she is without using her name, and she knows who I am without using mine.
And for the most part, unless I'm talking to myself, if I start talking, she knows I'm talking to her.
And we're getting a little cabin crazy because we're actually right now in a hunting cabin. See the gun on the wall, just to prove it. And we've been here for a couple days. And have we used each other's names since we
Peg,
got here?
I think the only time I've said your name is when we've done this demonstration.
I think you're right, Karen. So we have proved over the last 2 days that you just don't need to do that. And your characters don't need to do that either. And your readers will thank you for not throwing them all in. The one caveat I will put on that is a child talking to a parent will very often use mom or dad, similar to a name, but it just is more natural sometimes for a child to refer to mom or dad, even in conversation. So if you have a little child doing it, I'll give you a little bit of grace on that. Just don't overuse it.
What's your pet peeve?
My pet peeve in dialogue, because I am mostly into historical. She's the modern person over there. I'm mostly into historical, and I hate reading a historical novel where the dialogue is modern. I don't like people using terms that are from the modern day. Yeah, no. Use the older terms. We just talked about cringeworthy, right? This is cringeworthy stuff here. You didn't have cringeworthy stuff back in the day. That wasn't a term that was around. So don't use terms in historical that were not around at the time. Instead, use things like contractions that were around that we don't use today. Instead of it is, they said tis. Instead of it was, twas. They used shall quite a bit instead of will. And it's using those kind of words in dialogue that makes it authentic to the time period and really settles your reader into the time period nice and tight. So I like that.
So outside of the dialogue itself,
Yes.
big issue can be dialogue tags.
Yes.
Typically, generally, said, whispered, asked are the accepted dialogue tags.
Yes. I'm okay with murmured.
I like, because you can murmur something.
But you can't bark words.
It's physically possible to murmur something.
You cannot bark words. I have a dog. He's never said a word. No, you can't bark words.
Never said it or barked it.
And you don't need both a dialogue tag and an action beat. Whenever possible, pick the action beat. If you need the dialogue tag, use it. But if you have a dialogue tag followed by an action beat, it's just too much. You don't need all that wordiness in your book.
And that's what it is it's wordy. And you'd be surprised. You can cut several hundred words from your manuscript by just cutting unnecessary asked, said, whispered.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at a couple hundred words, that's a page. If you can cut 500 words, that's 2 pages. So make sure you are cutting those. You're using only the acceptable tags, but use those action beats whenever possible. You're going to add action to your story, interest to your story, and you're going to cut back on that wordiness.
And action beats does not mean smile. There are so many things the character can do besides smile. You know, they can do things that fit in with the story, maybe that fit in with their character. They can do things that fit in with the situation. I get really tired of smiles. Smiles are good. Just use them like salt.
I think we're getting close to our time, so I'm going to see if I can squeeze this in here.
Real quick.
You don't need a dialogue tag or an action beat on every line of dialogue.
This is true. She's right.
But
Listen to her. She's an editor.
But our 5 minutes are up.
Oh, 5 minutes are up. We got to go. See you next time.